basically your indication of on or off is the lights coming on or off. And a second switch, if you're doing a temperature control in the fluid bath, that's simply to turn on the heater.
And how could, I mean, what would be the corresponding temperature control? Is just target the 40 Celsius degrees, or we can
It
do
can
intermediate
reach
temperature?
anywhere room temperature up to about 22 degrees above ambient.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but you have like kind of 1 degree.
The tolerance?
Mhm.
The tolerance is plus or minus. If the temperature in the room is steady,
Mhm.
you can count on plus or minus 0.3 degrees C.
Oh, okay.
But it takes about an hour to reach set point, about 75 minutes to stabilize.
Mm.
And if you have to turn the machine off and reset it, it sometimes takes a little dip and you have to wait for it to stabilize.
Oh, we have to turn
Yeah.
the entire system off to cool it down or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
And if you turn the system, if you power cycle it or start a new test, the
Oh,
temperature
but
control can
only power
reset.
off the heater, right? Or we don't
No.
Or the entire thing.
Yeah, if all the power goes off, it resets the controller.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
yeah, that's one item that we're working on, and we'll get an update to you shortly. That will make that feature
Separately.
more stable in
independently.
between
Mhm.
one test and the next test.
Right. So you also have a place that we can set up the temperature in the software?
Yes.
Or-
On that note, actually, I'm just going to grab the temperature sensor. So this is just a one-click connector. You want to be a little careful not to get fluid spilled on the connector. It's not, a little bit won't matter, but if it got hit with a good drop of saline, it could potentially short through those pins.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's, we just have a sensor pocket here in that bath. And I just take the temperature readings. So while I'm setting up, I'll just give a high-level overview of the software.
Sure.
There's two modules in the software. So this is the main screen. To proceed further, you have to go to File, and there's a few options. Collect New is the data collection module. Analyze and Review is where you can go back and review images from a test and do surface tracking and strain tracking. And,
Oh, so you can
those
actually
features.
gather data first, and you can analyze the data. in
Yeah.
background.
Yeah, any surface tracking and features is all done post-process.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can also review protocol if you want to pull up and find exactly what protocol you ran in a given test. And there's also an option to import external images. So pretend you did set up another camera and you weren't able to integrate it on the main screen of the data collection. You can still collect the images and import them into our review module. And that would be any JPEG you can import.
But would the system be able to work, I mean, the kind of string calculation,
It would.
capably work on different images?
It would.
Not
It-
the one acquired by your camera.
Yeah, it would be able to. Getting them time synced with your data would be something you'd have to work out. It wouldn't be difficult if you had some trigger that could tell you when it started and you're able to have a similar data and image collection frequency. But it can work with any JPEG.
Oh, okay.
So I just go to File, Collect New. From here, you can select a template to load. A template, and I can get more into that later, but any feature you change in the software,
Yeah.
like if you set up a testing sequence, or if you change like the temperature set point, or anything that you change in the data collection module can be saved to a template. So next time you go in, it can load up
Yeah.
all your presets, and you don't have to go and change them again.
We just need to do it once, and then.
Yeah, and save it, and then you can pull it back up again. Sure. Test name. There's no set syntax for what you name your tests. Other than that, it's good to have a 3-digit number on the end, because every time you open the test, it'll automatically increment the number. And you can choose where the data will be stored to and where you pull your templates from.
Oh,
So-
that's for the data and.
Yeah, so if you
template.
had different users, you could assign, you know, a different directory for each user.
Maybe
where
only
the
for the
data is
data,
contained.
the template should be
Yeah.
in the same place.
Okay, that looks much better.
So that's the one you used to,
Yeah.
work on. Now that.
I'm just gonna check that the camera's working well.
There's a coverage right there.
Yeah, it's just a lens cap.
Oh.
Okay, this camera's working fine. So I'm just gonna,
How do you tell the camera is working?
well, it went from black to white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Without any lens on, it's got nothing to focus on, so.
Oh, so this is a lens.
Mhm.
So you have different, lens or?
Potentially available, yeah. We have different lenses you can use. We feel this is the one that will fit the needs of most of our users, and it's a lot easier to change the field of view and the focus compared to the previous lens you were looking at in the previous version of the manual.
Hello, Greg.
I was gonna paint that, I'll do it later. We'll do it later, we'll do it tomorrow, like I said.
Okay.
That was purpose. Well, and tomorrow morning we'll still do some demo. So.
Okay. After noon, you'll be done here?
Mhm.
Next
Yeah.
day?
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, so the lens can be set up a couple different ways. Normally, we have a 10mm space between the lens and the camera. So this is just a 5mm spacer, and there's another one on the lens. If you need a wider field of view, you can actually take one of these out.
Okay.
The drawback is that the lens is set up such that if you take that spacer out, you're going to get a bit of a ring around the edges of your images. So the center of the image will be fine, but it's just the combination between this lens and that size of CCD to get the full field of view around in a concentric circle around the edges. You need both of these spacers in place.
So how did you take that one out? So cut the next side away.
Yeah, so it just unscrews.
Uh-huh.
So the lens cap is just sitting on there.
Uh-huh.
This has a spacer in place already, and I put the spacer on the lens, and they just screw together. Okay, I'd suggest you hang on to these. It's not a bad idea to cover this up when not in use, just because dust is a pain
Yes.
to get rid of.
Same.
So. Alright, so I just need some of the tools.
That's the one.
You wouldn't have a ruler handy, would you?